Hello everybody and welcome to this live commentary video where today I'm going to go through some of the different platforms that are available to us as consumers of games on PC. I've seen lately that there's a huge pushback on moving to other platforms from a lot of people saying, you know, like fuck the Microsoft Store, fuck Origin and EA and all that stuff. And I can understand why. It's definitely easier and more manageable to have all your games and your friends in one place, and while I do agree that that's a good thing, competition is also a very good thing. It drives prices down and it creates innovation in the kind of competitive landscape of gaming, and that's what I've seen. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to break down any biases I have, because I also don't like leaving Steam, and we're going to check out services like Origin, Uplay, the Microsoft Store, because some of these places have got some exclusive games lately, like, you know, Sea of Thieves or A Way Out, and they're worth checking out. You know, it's not worth ignoring the entire platform just because of that. So before we get into it, I would like to preface, like I said, I'm not a Steam hater. I do enjoy Steam. I like having my games in one place, but if you kind of just open yourselves up to other platforms and other ideas, it might not be too bad, and you could end up getting some really good deals and some good games in other places. So let's check out the first on the list, which is Origin. Now, Origin has vastly improved in the last couple of years since I remember playing it with Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4. I mean, largely that's all you could really do with it. Maybe play a Battlefield game or one or two other EA games, and that was about it. Maybe one or two indies as well. But now there's way more going on with it. They've really upped their game in terms of their community side as well, even though it's still pretty far behind Steam. But in terms of their storefront and the games on offer and the deals they have, things are looking pretty good. So let's talk about the top 3 things that Origin are offering at the moment. Number 1 for me will be the EA exclusive games, number 2 would be Origin Access, and number 3 will be the curated storefront. So to go through these one by one, essentially the EA exclusivity, that's a bit of a point of contention amongst gamers. Obviously, you know, exclusive games kind of annoy people. You might, like for instance with PlayStation and Xbox, someone might own an Xbox, your friend might own a PlayStation, and you guys can't play together. That's a huge wedge driving you apart. But on the PC it's a little bit different. You know, it's not really a big deal to just have to go create a free account and install Origin over Steam or whatever. You can have both, and if the game's just on Origin, your friend can do that too. It's not really that big of a barrier to have an exclusive game there or not. So I don't necessarily mind it too much, but it kind of does drive a little wedge in the gaming ecosystem that you might have found on Steam or the groups and things you have there. It's definitely not a nice thing to have to move away, but it's still a feather in the cap of the platform to be able to say that they have that game. Just as I would say, you know, Steam has Counter-Strike, Origin has their own exclusive games too, like Battlefield, Need for Speed, Mirror's Edge, A Way Out, whatever it might be. So that's definitely a positive there, that you come to Origin to play those kind of high quality exclusive games. Well, you hope they're high quality anyway. And by the way, before we get into it, let's not talk about EA. I know, I get it. I'm trying to be unbiased. Nobody likes EA, neither do I. Nobody likes microtransactions or only online games, and they have absolutely shit the bed with Star Wars. We get it. But trying to be objective and just look at the platform, there are some other good games on there that are worth playing. So that's the exclusive games part out of the way. The next is Origin Access, and this is probably the most compelling reason to give Origin your money. Essentially, Origin Access is a $5 a month subscription fee where you get access to about 80 games from their backlog of EA titles, as well as some third-party published titles and some indies and things like that. If you have a look at just some of these games here, some of the preconceptions or misconceptions, I should say, about this is that the games are super old, played them already, whatever. The chances are they are mostly a year to 2 years old, and you've probably played a lot of them, but if you haven't, it's actually a really good deal. So for instance, they just added The Witness, Wasteland 2, Titanfall 1 and 2, Star Wars Battlefront and all the DLC, Mirror's Edge 1 and 2, or the new one, Battlefield 1, Battlefield 4, Battlefield 3, Need for Speed, Mass Effect, Crisis 1, 2, and 3, Dragon Age 1, you know, all the different Dragon Ages, Dead Space 1, 2, and 3. There's just absolutely tons of games. Like, if you've missed some of these are really good games to play. And then there's also some third-party indies, like we said, The Witness, Rebel Galaxy, Wasteland, Trine 2, This War of Mine, and then some really old games like Dungeon Keeper, Populous, Ultima, and Wing Commander. So I don't know, like, it seems like a really, really good deal for $5 a month to be able to play any of these games for as long as you want, as long as you keep your subscription going. So that's the main draw of Origin Access. But then there's also the Play First trials that you get with Origin Access. Essentially, they give you 10 hours in a game of your choosing, if you've got Origin Access. So for instance, you can play Battlefront 2 for 10 hours in the multiplayer, you can play Need for Speed, Payback, and some FIFA 18, and those games change based on what's kind of, you know, about to come out or has recently come out. And then the last thing is the discounts. They'll give you about 10% off on a lot of stuff on the storefront, which is pretty cool. It's a nice little feature, I suppose. If there's two games that are equally priced on Origin and Steam, and you've got Origin access, then you've got 10% off probably on the one that's on, for instance, like Final Fantasy 15 here. The Windows edition is 10% off because I've got Origin access. So, I don't know. Doing pretty good things, and those are the top 3 things, really. Oh, I was going to say as well, the curated storefront for Origin. So what I mean by that is essentially, Origin's store doesn't really have that many games, okay? It's not that many, but they do have a lot of high quality games. And that's something that I think a lot of people are kind of looking for with Steam. There's a lot of shit that hits the Steam storefront every day. Now, in fairness, Steam store is still better than Origin store. There's way more discounts and daily deals, and things go way cheaper. And there's just much more variety, and it's not too difficult to really find the game you're looking for on Steam. I think the, lots of games thing's been a little bit overblown in my opinion, but at least if you're one of those people that hates seeing just like 15 games hit Steam a day, at least you know when a new game hits Origin, it's probably a good game. Recently, they just added Prison Architect. I mean, it's nothing new, but at least you know it's good. So if you're someone that is kind of on the more uninformed side, which probably means you're not watching this video, but if you're a little bit more uninformed, Origin's a kind of a safer bet in terms of what games you buy. And if you don't like a game, they give you 72 hours to return it, no questions asked. You don't have to give them a reason, or they don't check your playtime or anything like that. You can just get rid of it. So that's fairly consumer friendly. So I think Origin has made some pretty good strides in the last couple of years, because I remember a couple of years ago this was just a vacant EA store, EA only store, where the prices were super high, and now it seems like things are just getting a little bit better. That subscription model is one of my favorite things. I'm currently playing through Mass Effect 2 because of it, and I never have. So that was a really nice little addition to the store I didn't really know about. Now, as well as that, they do have sales from time to time as well. I just caught the tail end of a sale here, unfortunately, for this video. But basically, they had a 10-day sale just in March where things are up to 65% off. So they do have sales, but still not as dramatic as Steam sales and their midweek sales. But arguably, there's not as much on Origin to have sales that often. So anyway, that's Origin done and dusted. So let's move on. So it's pretty funny because Uplay, honestly, Uplay is like a bit of a joke. And the store just won't even open up right now. It would open at the beginning of this video, but now, after recording the Origin section, the Steam section, it's just not working anymore, and I don't have time to wait around. So unfortunately, I can't really show you the Uplay store. But what I will mention is that basically it's like 95% Ubisoft games. There's not really a problem with that. These games are on other platforms though, so they're on Steam. So this is why Uplay is just kind of like this side joke almost. It's like you don't need it, it just gets in the way because you buy your game on Steam and it just opens up Uplay and you don't really know why, and you need an account and stuff like that. That's all pretty annoying. It kind of feels like where Origin was maybe about 3 years ago, when they were kind of not just exclusive to Origin and they had this like points system that they ended up just completely doing away with. Ubisoft or Uplay is in the exact same position as they were then. They're kind of getting some games in here and there. They're exploring, publishing some indies to get them on their platform. And then they've got something called like Uplay points or coins. And essentially you can earn these in games with Uplay enabled games. So if you play something like a Far Cry 4 or Assassin's Creed Origins or something, and you do your achievements and you do some extra little things, you'll get some Uplay coins. The interesting thing is if you have 100, you can get 20% discount on any game on the Uplay store. So that's kind of like that's a nice little treat. Like if you're playing on their platform and you're earning stuff on their platform, you can get some rewards back and get 20% off even a brand new game like Far Cry 5 if you wanted to. Fortunately, I can't show you that because the Ubisoft store is currently unavailable, but the option was there. It's just like a little gold coin thing that says, hey, you've got 100, you can get 20% off select your own game or any game you want. That's a nice little feature, but apart from that, I haven't really seen anything else that's compelling about Uplay, and that's pretty much all they've got. In fact, it's a little anecdotal, but the only time my account's ever been hacked by anyone was on a Uplay service. And it's just probably because I left it idle for so long I didn't even know. But they didn't even do anything. They just played my Ghost Recon game. So that's Uplay. I don't know. It's just a bit of a joke. It's kind of far behind everything else. There's not much going on there. They've got like this news section where they basically just talk about their own games and then how to build PCs and things like that, and a few like partners that they've got for building PCs. So it kind of feels... I just don't know why anyone would use it right now unless you're really eager to get that Uplay points and save up. I'm pretty sure you're able to just earn the points even through Steam and then maybe buy a game on Uplay. So I guess you could maybe do that if you liked. That was it for the Uplay store. The next one I want to look at is the Microsoft store. Now I'm going to look at this very quickly because there's an absolute I mean, it's an absolute shit show, for lack of a better term. I don't like swearing too much on my channel, but it's pretty bad. Now, essentially, my main problem with the Microsoft Store and why it's bad is because they kind of do things through two apps. The Microsoft Store is where you purchase your games, and the games are basically a combination of free-to-play, like, mobile games and then PC games, and it's very hard to filter between the two. You can go to top games, and your top games will be stuff like Candy Crush Soda Saga or whatever the hell. And it's like, apparently I own Candy Crush Saga, which I definitely don't. I'd just like to point that out to everyone. I definitely don't. I don't have a Windows phone. I don't know how that could have been linked to my account, but there you go. And then they've got games alongside it, like the Age of Empires Definitive Edition. So it's just like, the thing's just an absolute mess. You know, you go to best-selling, top free. Like, why can't I just go, give me PC only, you know? So it's just a bit of a problem. So you go to games, you go maybe top paid games, and that's probably where you'll get the games that you want to have a look at, or the best sellers and things like that. What is this? Throne Contention. Sorry, hang on here for 1 sec. That was a very familiar icon a second ago, wasn't it? Haven't stolen that at all. For those who don't know, that is just from Total War Warhammer. So that's great. It's a great store. Fantastic. No one's going to use that. Now, the problem is that you buy a game like Age of Empires, and then where it will kind of like need you to link up is with the Xbox app. Now, the Xbox app, I actually think is kind of like, this is what Steam, you know, it's trying to emulate something like a Steam. It's obviously just coming straight off the Xbox One, and this is their features. And there's really cool stuff on here, like the friends and clubs. I don't have any friends, so it doesn't show me any of that stuff because I've never really used this, and it's not even loading. I have one friend, actually. It's not even loading in right now, which is awesome. But generally speaking, this is actually a nice little thing. Like the activity feeds, you can follow different games. The community aspects of this are all actually very good. You can party up with friends, talk with them, and then go into a game really seamlessly and easily. So that stuff is actually quite good, and it'll kind of pull in the games that you've played on Steam. It just knows. So if you kind of want to just have everything in your Xbox app, you could do that. And then they've got their achievement systems, and they've got game DVR, and then they link to Mixer. It's actually a really great infrastructure. Their main problem, at least in my opinion, is when you try to buy a game, it's like, okay, I want to be B More Pirate, and I'll get Sea of Thieves, and then it opens up the Microsoft Store, like it's a separate thing, and then I don't know, it's just like I've seen it open up, what's it called, Tomb Raider, and I was testing it out, and I almost bought it, and it turns out it was only on Xbox. Now, this is Xbox Play Anywhere, which is great, but one of the big problems is, let's say if we go to Tomb Raider, this is doing this live now, so I don't know how this is going to work out, but Tomb Raider, Xbox Live, available on PC, so that's great, but it has a giant, like, Xbox, it's actually on sale right now, £13, not too bad. When I first searched it, I swear, I don't know why it's not really coming up now, but maybe it was Rise of the Tomb Raider. Search. Oh, they've actually got this now. That's good if it's available on desktop. It did come up as all devices before, I think by default. It's probably because I set it to... Yeah, I think by default it comes up as all devices. So I looked at this and I thought, big giant green Xbox Live banner. Not going to click that one. I'm going to click the one that looks like it's on PC. And then it's like, this one's only on Xbox. Anyway, basically, the store is just a bit of a mess because it's disconnected from the actual PC like program that they have, which is called Xbox. It's just confusing. It's like you've got something really close to being good here, and it's just like trying to be a hybrid of both, you know. I think they could actually have a very decent competitor to Steam if they just filtered it only by, you know, Microsoft only games, and kind of like did something like Origin do, because they have a Game Pass. And Game Pass is actually quite decent. For a certain amount of money a month, you can play games like Gears of War 4 and Sea of Thieves for free. So it's another monthly subscription model, but it's more like the kind of like, it's almost like PlayStation Plus, but it's also a Game Pass will also give you access to this massive back catalog of console games. So it looks great here. It's like, oh, look at all these games, but a lot of them are actually console games. So you can't actually play them unless you have a 360. So that's pretty much all to do with the Xbox and Microsoft Store. I really don't like the Microsoft Store or the Xbox Store just because they rely on each other. They're trying to pull in games from other platforms and things like that. It's just not a closed system with their own games where you buy on that storefront. And I just find that's really meddling and really annoying and frustrating to kind of navigate through. But I actually do think it has a lot of potential. So let's close that one down. And the next one, then the final one I'm going to open up Well, actually, we've got GOG Galaxy. There's really not much to talk about here other than the fact that these are DRM-free games, and if you want GOG Galaxy, this is good old games is basically the website, GOG.com, which is run by the guys that make The Witcher and stuff, CD Projekt Red. It's a good service, and you basically just get your games DRM-free. You get access to all the files. You can do whatever you want with them. One of the big problems, actually, with the Microsoft Store is all the game files. For instance, I tried to listen to the soundtrack of Age of Empires. It was all like locked and encrypted really weirdly. With some weird Microsoft permissions on Windows, so that was like just a pain in the ass. Whereas if you just want to have access to the games that you buy, like the good old days, I guess, you go to goodoldgames.com and you can get some new games are coming out there, like Frostpunk, Battletech, Ancestors Legacy. A lot of Eastern European and indie developers seem to focus on this platform a lot, I've noticed. And then Paradox seem to have a heavy hand on here as well. So it's not a bad little area, but they add new games to the place quite a lot, and it'll be like, oh, new releases, and it's like all Mafia 3 stuff. So it's just it's kind of playing catch up here and there a little bit, but it's actually a pretty good little download service. The community aspect is decent. It actually links to their forums and stuff in a really nice way. So it's not bad. I would definitely say it's better than the Microsoft Store, but I just don't really see the point in getting it unless you're one of these people that really want to just get rid of DRM completely, because you can use this completely offline and it doesn't do any checks. It's just a complete option if you want. You can just download your games from GOG, buy them through this storefront, and then just completely separate them from the program. So it's very much just like this like super pro consumer thing where they're like trying to get rid of DRM, and I respect that, but I don't really personally have a problem with it. With Steam, for instance. So that's the deal with GOG Galaxy. All right, the final one then to move on to, and the last one we'll talk about today, is the PlayStation Now service. This is a bit of a weird one, just because basically you can make a PlayStation account and then you can play all of these games with a monthly subscription. It's actually quite an expensive monthly subscription of, I think, $20 per month. It's £12.99 per month, so I think it's $20. There's a 7-day free trial if you want to try it out. What this essentially is doing is using Gaikai, the company they bought about 3 or 4 years ago, to stream your game. I don't know if you guys ever heard of OnLive, but basically what I'm doing now, if I play God of War right now, which is pretty cool, I can play any of these actually. If I was to play like The Last of Us, for instance, what this will essentially do, and it works very quickly, is starts up a game, but I'm essentially watching a video feed of the game being played on a server somewhere else. There's a PlayStation 3 out in the ether at Gaikai headquarters, where they're running The Last of Us and they're sending me the signal, and my inputs are being uploaded to it, and there's pretty much no latency. I mean, it's actually very, very not noticeable. I'm sure if you were playing something like a Call of Duty, you'd probably notice it, but I played a little bit of The Last of Us and God of War. It felt very, like, just not noticeable. It felt just like I was playing on console. My biggest problem with it is that it transfers the output image in 720p. So it's only a 720p service. And I play on a 1080p monitor, so when I load the game, it loads in a smaller window, and if you full screen it, it just gets a little bit blurry. Just a tiny bit. It's not too bad, because these games, I mean, The Last of Us and a lot of console games run in 720p. They don't run in 1080 native anyway, so you're not losing out too much. But what is kind of cool is, like, if you wanted, you know, you can play some Red Dead Redemption on your PC, and, you know, whatever else you might want to play. There's a lot of PlayStation exclusives there. So it's not bad. It's kind of expensive for what it is, but I did try it out today, and I was actually quite impressed with how... My internet's not that fast, and I was quite impressed with how good it was. I am quite close to London, though, and I believe they have servers in London for this, in their UK stores. And they're rolling it out. They've got it in America, London. They're rolling it out to countries like Ireland and further in Europe as time goes on. So it's not bad. There's 500 games that you can have access to, apparently. Right, yeah, so there's just... Oh, my God, yeah, look, Oblivion... Oh, Rage. Damn, that was such a good game. One of the very first games I ever reviewed, ever, was Rage. I used to write for a little website back in the day. So yeah, you could play some of the old classics if you really wanted to for just one price, which is pretty cool. So that's pretty much it. I hope you guys found some useful info. Maybe if, you know, seen something that you didn't necessarily know about, maybe you'll know to avoid certain things. Microsoft Store. But yeah, that's basically it. So in my opinion, it's just the main takeaway from this, for me at least, was PlayStation Now is actually kind of a viable thing to play some older games on, especially if you had a PS3 or a PS4 or whatever. And then Origin Access is super worth it if you haven't like played your entire back catalog of EA games. And that's pretty much it. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. It was a bit of a longer, rambly kind of video. I had a script originally planned for it, and I just thought it'd be easier just to bang it out in a real-time way. and get it out at the same time. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, and let me know if I've missed any kind of good deals, or if there's any good platforms maybe I missed out on that maybe I should be aware of. So let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks very much for watching. Toodaloo.